We got a live look at the Strait of Hormuz. And earlier today, Iran issued a new list of demands to reopen the key cargo and oil route. It's unlikely the United States is going to agree to their demands, though. All this comes as the United Nations is warning that the risk of the Iran war spreading to other countries in the Middle East is growing. 3 nations in the region, Saudi Arabia, Turkey, and Pakistan, are now agreeing to a joint defense pact. It says an attack on any one of those nations would be considered an attack on all 3. Now, all 3 nations, when asked, are saying that the deal is purely for defensive purposes. And this agreement is coming in the same 24 hours that Yemen's military attacked Iranian-backed Houthi rebels who have been striking ships in the Red Sea and other targets in Saudi Arabia, sending the region into a tailspin. And with reports that key U.S. weapon stockpiles are diminishing, the direction this war may go in next is still unclear. Here with us now, we have foreign affairs analyst Harley Lippman. Harley, thank you so much for joining us. Let's get right to it. So Iran's list of demands here to reopen the Strait, what it really involves here is the United States lifting its naval blockade and also a complete withdrawal from Iran. And I just can't really see a world where President Trump and Secretary of War Hegseth are going to say, yeah, that sounds like a good plan to us. Do you think there is room for negotiation here?
Unlikely. I think you said it very well. Now, all of a sudden, Iran is issuing new demands, and that's the action of a nation that wants to sabotage these talks. Because if anybody is in negotiations, whether you're buying a house or you're in business and you have a deal, and then all of a sudden somebody tells you, I want 3 additional things, and they're significant, that's called sabotage, which speaks to the intentions of Iran.
Well, you got to imagine this is absolutely infuriating to President Trump. What's happening behind the scenes? He doesn't want to be tapped along.
Behind the scenes is very clear that Iran wants to humiliate President Trump. They are fighting this war to win. The way they read the room is that President Trump is worried about the midterm elections, that he's bluffing. He's threatened many times to destroy Iran. He's never done it. And they feel they've got the upper hand, and they're going to push their agenda forward, which is to have control of the Strait of Hormuz and to have nuclear weapons.
How much power do they really have, though?
Well, they only have the power of fear because they really cannot close the strait. And President Trump echoed these thoughts. What happens is these ships, which are worth close to $1 billion with their oil cargo, the insurers don't want to allow them to go through the straits because they don't want to pay the bill if these oil tankers are sunk. And the solution to that, in my opinion, is let the United States insure these tankers. America did it during the war between Iran and Iraq in the 1980s. And I think that's how it should be done. So Iran does have that leverage, but at the end of the day, we can't allow Iran to control the Strait of Hormuz. And here's why. 90% of trade in the world is on the ocean. And this controls 20% of the world's oil supply and other critical materials like fertilizer, which Africa desperately needs. Yeah. And if Iran has that control, they're going to be able to exert huge influence on countries all over the world. And it will create an incredibly dangerous precedent because other nations that have that chokehold will say they want the same deal as Iran. We want to control it. For example, the Houthis, which you had mentioned, with the Bab el Mand, they also have a choke point there. You have Turkey with the Bosphorus, the Dardanelles. You have the Malacca Straits in Indonesia. Everybody could start charging tolls or things like that, or countries could control it. And then, you have what we always believed was freedom of navigation, freedom of open waterways, all of a sudden ending. And that would be a disaster for the United States and the world.
Well, the Washington Post is reporting that President Trump blew up at Secretary of War Pete Hegseth over a weapons shortage due to the war, but Trump is now dismissing any claims that the United States is running low. According to the Center for Strategic and International Studies, around 8,000 ground strike and air defense munitions are left since July the 6th. At this rate, help us to understand what's happening here. How long will this supply last in Iran, and how risky could it be to renew strikes on the country?
Well, our generals and our admirals and our military have to deal with the fact that there is a shortage of munitions. We can't get around that. That said, there is an emergency plan in place to resupply these critical weapons as fast as possible. So they'll have to manage within that. But at the end of the day, the only way this war is going to end is with a victory, either Iran or the United States. You can only play tit for tat for so long. And Iran is playing the long game. And if we want to have peace in the world, we have to win. Now, I know a lot of people are saying, well, we're not winning, we're bombing, it's not getting anywhere. Just think of World War II. We were bombing Japan and Germany every day in 1942. So what if somebody said, hey, we're bombing you every day, but, and they started to complain, well, the war's still not over. Yeah, the war had to go to 1945. You had to bomb them enough to finally defeat them. It's the same thing here. Americans have completely unrealistic expectations. We've only been bombing Iran for 37 days. And in the first part of the war, which was 12 days, America only fought for 1 day. Israel fought the war for 11 days, and America fought in the war in the last day, the 12th day. So we haven't been fighting as long as people think, and wars just take a long time to win.
Well,
If
it's
you win
already
a
a very
short war,
unpopular
surrender.
war, and it's only going to get even more that way if more American service members come home in body bags. Foreign affairs analyst Harley Lippman, thank you so much for joining us to weigh in on the breaking news this weekend. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, friends, it's back to school